Hey everyone, I'm Laura Addington with Efficient Property Assistance and the Real Laura Coaching and Strategies. And I'm excited to be here today to talk about, of course, one of my favorite subjects, real estate. What I want to do today is actually just talk a little bit about a long-term strategy in uncertain times. I'm sure many of you watching have been through some ups and downs, of course, through the last couple of years in the pandemic. And now for those of you tuning in, focusing on Calgary and even some of the other real estate markets where we're seeing some real hype in the trends, multiple offers, higher rates going on, definitely looking into that seller's market and might be looking at it being a little bit harder to find deals right now. So I want to talk about how to stay strong into your plan during uncertain times. I'm going to share a little bit about my story. My husband, Phil, and I have been real estate investors primarily in Calgary with 40 doors now. And we started in 2006, 2007 in Calgary. And if anyone knows or remembers that time, it was definitely a seller's market or what we would call a boom time here in Calgary for sure. So we didn't start out of the gate in certainty. I could say that for sure. And I could share, a lot about what we maybe didn't have when we first started out. And that's what I'm hopeful that from this brief time we have today together, about 20, 25 minutes that I'm going to share, that you learn something from us and hopefully don't make some of the same mistakes that we did. So I'm just going to share my screen and go through a bit of a presentation with you today. So again, that's what I'm wanting to focus is on developing a long-term strategy in uncertain times. Now, a lot of what I believe is all times are uncertain and how do we build our certainty? And I'm going to go through my models of success to share how I believe we build certainty. And so my road to success definitely is developing a strategic real estate plan. So many of us get involved in real estate. I don't know about you, but I love properties. I love houses. I could easily get sucked into what may or may not be a great deal if it was not for my plan. So having that clear strategic plan helps me stay on point. So I'll go through that with us together. And risk management rule book, definitely looking at how we're going to manage risk. I'm not here to say that there's no risk in real estate, but I do believe that we mitigate risk by setting certain parameters as well as, again, aligning to that strategic plan. Learning from history, not just mine, I'll share some of mine, but definitely looking at real estate history throughout, looking at the real estate cycle I'll touch on today, and knowing those deal breakers. I think those have been our key kind of road to success to build our portfolio of currently 40 doors, and we're looking to continue to grow. So what makes a good plan and what makes that plan work? So what I do want to share first and foremost for those of you who don't know me is I don't have a background in real estate at all. I did not come from a wealthy family. I came from the opposite, to be completely honest. My start out in life, we were definitely a low-income family on a fixed budget, under the poverty line. And so I didn't come from having that knowledge or wealth or entrepreneurship. I certainly did need to learn how to grow and build something because I wasn't coming from having that background. So that is definitely not required. What I think your biggest requirement is, and the biggest success to a plan, is that strong connection to your ultimate purpose, your big why. And I will spend a bit of time on that. If you haven't, please do with with yourself later today or with a significant other or family member. I want you to really dig into what your ultimate goal is. If you're not clear on that, that is the first step of everything. And to me, that's what doesn't deviate. To me, uncertainty doesn't change my ultimate goal on what I want to see, what I see as financial freedom for myself and my family. That's never going to change regardless of what might be happening in the market. And to me, that is the ultimate key. Of course, I want you to develop a strong plan that has a clear financial goals. Of course, I've also, come from a finance background. When I in my employment, I work in the finance industry. I worked in not-for-profits and involved in the budgets and borings. So I really want to make sure that the financials are attached properly to your plan, that your direction, the number of properties, the type and location of properties, your team. There's a lot of meat into that plan, but it starts with your why. And so when I focus on that, I think about my values. And this is just a little bit to share with you, about how my husband and I came to our why. And so freedom, was really important to me. And when we were looking at how are we going to build any form of financial freedom, my husband and I were both working entry-level jobs. We did not have pensions. So looking at, retirement or, the ability to save for retirement was very difficult. I mentioned I worked in charity and not-for-profit. So making a difference is also really important to me. So when I was looking at how I'm going to build the life that I want and what I value, those are really top priorities for me. And the peace and the security, again, growing up in lower income, different types of housing, is very important to me that we provide safe and secure housing. And so that security piece is important to me and important for our tenants. And the connection and authenticity. I had the opportunity to be interviewed. Many of you are aware of the Real Estate Investors Network, the RAIN group. I was interviewed on their community connections. And one of the questions they asked was, what is it you love about real estate investing or landlording? And for me, it's definitely the tenants. It's the people. I'm a people person. I really enjoy setting somebody up into their new home, their first time rental. They're excited about their property and learning a lot about and sharing time with people. Now, of course, you also don't have to be a people person to do this. Just make sure you've got someone like me on your team. So just touching on those pieces, I don't want you to ignore this. We only have a short time together, so please spend some time afterwards. The purpose of life is a life of purpose, or I'll also often say, fail to plan, plan to fail. So we don't want any of you doing that here. So let's get into some of the meat, some of the meat of it. On what type of real estate investor are you? Have you dug into, or do you currently have some properties? Where are you at in your real estate journey? Are you brand new out of the gate? Do you have some? Have you tried a number of different things? Have you figured out what your kind of niche is? So when looking at that, buy and hold is definitely, so Phil and I are buy and hold investors. We're definitely looking for cash flow. We came from negative cash flows. So if we're going to build a retirement, we couldn't be just betting on equity. We needed to be able to see some cash flow come in. We didn't have the funds to be able to weather maintenance issues and different things like that if the property didn't incur enough cash to be able to manage that. So hopefully everybody understands that. I don't want you pulling money out of the mouths of your own family to build this. So that's very key in looking at those numbers for yourself. Looking at fix and flips, definitely in different markets. That's a great way to build and create wealth. I want you to really manage and understand that when we talk about the real estate cycle, so that you see what side of that cycle and when some of these product or types work of real estate investing and when they don't. And of course, the flip to self, which now the ever popular BRRRR method, the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. If I'd have known the acronym was going to be that easy, I would have created it myself, because that's definitely how Phil and I built our portfolio up to 40 doors. And the other key component I would say for us has been that we recycle the monies. Essentially what we're doing is we're looking at utilizing that same down payment over and over again, so that we're building wealth again on that same monies that we were able to get back out of the property. We also focus in not just market appreciation, but what I call forced appreciation in that renovate section. We are currently doing a lot of legalizing of suites in Calgary. And so that's allowed us to actually build in that additional forced appreciation of the property when we're refinancing. So all these kinds of things are, information I can share. But part of the plan as we're building out all of that is on that risk management. I want to make sure you're clear on your exit strategy. Are you working with joint venture? What does that look like? So due diligence is not just about the deal and the property. Due diligence is also around your joint venture, your contracts. I want you to be very aware of your challenges and your obstacles. What are your pitfalls? If you're not a numbers person, or you're not a people person, or you're not a maintenance, I'm definitely not a maintenance person, then make sure you have a member on your team. Thank goodness my husband is a maintenance person. Have those members on your team that fit. So I look at this from a business side of a basic general SWOT analysis, right? Your real estate is your business, and I want you to know your strengths and weaknesses. I want you to know those threats, and I want you to know those obstacles and those opportunities, so you can make sure that you're building your business plan thoroughly, not just setting it up as a quick and easy, okay, there's this much coming in and this much going out. I want you to go way deeper. I want you to have a strong plan. And with that, I want you to confirm, what's the length of hold? What is it? idea on how long you're going to keep this rental property. Is it 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, forever? I mean, we have big lofty goals in our opportunity to create charity, where I'd like this to be a legacy, where I want the real estate to outlive us. And I want to see that creating a plan. So we're building out into a foundation that's going to outlive us. And what management style? You're going to manage yourself? Are you going to utilize some support services like myself, or hire property management? Making sure that you have the clear team. And I'll share a little bit of our pitfall when we didn't have that. So overcoming blocks. Okay, guys, has anybody here ever heard a negative real estate story? I can't be the only one. And when I think about it on how many times I was, told how crazy I was to get into real estate anyways, isn't that risky? Aren't the tenants going to wreck your place? You're not going to get the rent paid. Isn't it hard to do? Well, here's the thing out of the gate as entrepreneurs, I don't think it's meant to be easy, actually. Now, I do want your real estate to be boring. I don't want your real estate to be exciting. And I usually share a little bit about that as well. But at the end of the day, there is risk. And so when we talk about that risk mitigation, I want you to think about it thoroughly and make sure that you have a plan in place for that risk mitigation. But I also don't want you to get stuck. So I don't want you to get stuck in fear or challenges. I mean, some of these components, when I hear about money or the lack of money, I mean, my story, I came from that, lower income family, but I also went a little wayward through my teens and my 20s. And I found myself in my mid 20s with a bankruptcy and a recent divorce. So believe you me, when I restarted, I guess, into my real estate career, do you think they were knocking down my door to give me financing with a bankruptcy? Not a chance. And I had negative money. So I'm here to tell you that if I could do it, anyone can. And the other thing I hear over the years all the time is, oh, there's no deals. Times have changed. The market's too high now. You used to be able to do that kind of thing and now you can't. You want to see how many times I've seen that. So I really believe that you want to follow, and I'll share about the real estate cycle, because I believe they're always going to be there. Now, are they there in this minute? Maybe not necessarily. And so those are some of the things as strategic investors we want to start to build up and be prepared for different times in the real estate cycle. So let's just touch on your rules. What are your absolutes? So I hope that you know these pretty clearly, but I would suggest that you write them down. Don't just have them in your head, because just the process of writing them down, I even have, sticky notes around on my desk and space where I can see this information. So I want you to know those deal breakers. So a few deal breakers for us, we're heavily cash flow investors. So when I'm looking at a deal breaker, my husband and I want to see a minimum of $400 a month cash flow per door. So per unit, we want to see $400 a month cash flow. And we just chatted. Now, obviously I like to see more, but we just chatted about that recently and said, well, if we found a deal right now with the market being higher and it was $300 a month cash flow, would we consider it? And we actually said no. So that's our deal breaker. So that's a line in the sand that we have around cash flow. And I always say numbers never lie, but you can twist and turn those numbers by omitting things, inflating rents, doing different things. So get a second opinion. I'm certainly available to help and coach and strategize on those things in my business. I want to make sure that you're getting that second opinion, that you're not lying to yourself with those numbers, and don't deviate from your plan. So certainly we've had opportunities and we've done things where we've deviated from the plan. I think it would have been in 2013. We had a bit, don't know if I would call it a boom, but we had a bit of an uptick in the Calgary market. And we decided to purchase a property in Ontario. I thought that was a great idea. We're originally from Ontario. We've got family in Ontario. And what I found was we did that, and it was very, very difficult for us because I had missed a huge component of my plan. When I shifted location, I didn't put in place the team members. I didn't put in place a lot of those other, my other deal breakers and risk mitigations. We didn't have the supports. I'm not saying you can't move location, but I am saying that I want to make sure that as you make adjustments, we're going to make adjustments to a plan as entrepreneurs all the time, but you need to make sure that they follow, and where are they going towards your ultimate goal. You're never deviating from the ultimate goal. Manage your rental as a business. I think I've said that already. So by clearly having this as a business, looking at that, looking at timelines, looking at team members, budgets, financials. I mean it, the whole having that is going to be your key for long-term success. And that's to me in any time. Again, I believe all times are uncertain, except for your certainty. We're the ones that build certainty. Don't let emotion affect your strategy. I see this all the time, right? I said it from the beginning. I fall in love with houses. I enjoy real estate, but I've got to take that off when I'm looking at a deal and look at it completely clearly and with those numbers. So with that, I think a second opinion is what I would say would value, whether it's a friend or a family member or a coach like me. Let's touch on the real estate cycle. So is anybody at any point that you might be listening to this now, I want you to think about what phase do you think we are in the real estate right now? Are we in are you in a boom? At what section or phase of the boom, slump, recovery? I want you to know that this also, there's no set, this happens, it's reoccurrent, but it's not for a length of time. We don't know exactly how long a boom or a slump or a recovery might actually last. So you want to watch those key drivers that's affecting supply and demand in the real estate. Now, not getting into the hype or some of the added components. I want you to be strategic in looking at the key drivers. So you're looking at your GDP, you're looking at, so right now in Calgary, oil is back up to $100 a barrel. So looking at all of those components, are we bringing in migration, other components on that, what's happening in your real estate cycle at this time to see where you're lying. And then you want to look at your strategy in your real estate based on the cycle. So very, very different strategies, whether I'm in a boom, a slump, or recovery in my real estate. And so that's not something that I could spend enough time on today, but definitely reach out. Take a look at John Campbell, Real Estate Cycle book, because I think that would be a huge value and explain it a lot better than I can. And it's a key piece to being a strategic investor, is knowing what part of the cycle that we're in. So brief touch on real estate history. I think I've said on a few things as far as definitely looking at being in uncertain times. Like I said, we started in 2006, 2007 in Calgary when things were quite booming. We made an error, let's say, in judgment in 2013 when we decided to buy out of location without a clear plan. It wasn't a matter of it being the location change that was the biggest effect. So, we've talked on the real estate cycle. I want you guys to do some homework on that. I want you to, be aware of those market trends, but not get caught up into the hype. So, we're hearing all of that. We're hearing, buy now. We're always hearing about interest rates going up. I just want you to do your numbers. I want you to know, I know mine so clearly that it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying, and my deals still come up. So in fear and greed, I believe it's a Warren Buffett quote that said, be greedy when people are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. And that honestly is what I live by. I also say, buy in the market that's named after you. So so you're going to buy at a buyer's market and sell at a seller's market. So right now, whether you consider it to be a boom or otherwise, I would certainly call it in Calgary at this time a seller's market, which means that I'm not going to buy. Doesn't mean I won't look at deals. If something works, remember, I know my numbers, I'm strategic on that. But I'm also going to look at what can I do in this market as a strategic investor? Well, I'm refinancing and reviewing my entire existing portfolio so that I can set up at these higher property values, that I could set myself up for the next deal. So we're in the midst of revisiting that on our portfolio, and then we're going to be set to purchase on those next deals, whether that's in 3 months or 18 months or otherwise. Yes, I have some lofty goals and I have some timelines I want to meet, but none of that will help me achieve my goals faster if I start deviating from my plan. That's the real difference, I believe, in the strategic investor. On the other side, again, what I had mentioned about, be greedy when others are fearful. I don't love the idea of being greedy, but I'll share with you that over the course of the last 2 years in COVID, we increased our portfolio by 14 doors. So when others weren't buying real estate or were concerned, we were buying. And so following those models, again, not to overextend or put yourself into a difficult situation. This is all based on what? Your plan, right? So at the end of the day, it's based on your plan, which means that is creating your certainty. And we found a lot of deals that met our plan during the last 2 years. So again, just to recap, my model for success is determining your purpose. So that having that desire, that clear, like I want you to really visualize what life is, what success means, what freedom means to you. Is that, working part-time? Is it firing your job? Is it spending time with your family on multiple vacations? Is it going to Disneyland? Is it living on a lake with a beachfront? So I want you to really, really deeply connect to that. And then of course, I'm going to get you to actually monetize it. And those are what I do to help people in coaching and strategy is we'll actually go through that process together and we'll help you monetize that goal. And then we'll look at applying those tools, which for the most part, being real estate investor, the tool I use is real estate on how to achieve that. So we're going to monetize your desires and then put the tools in place that we're going to use to achieve it. And of course, we're going to have a strong strategy for success in our plan that covers all bases from beginning to end. Even if you have a plan like mine that never ends, we still want to make sure that we're continuously reviewing those plans, updating those plans, changing teams as we need to, shifting as we need to. So having a plan doesn't mean that it's never adjusted, but what we don't adjust is our desire. I don't adjust my numbers, and we do look at what we need to adjust based on where we are in the real estate cycle, what's happening in those trends. So that's what I hope is helpful for you today. I will just finish off to say, of course, I love to support you in your real estate success. So I do offer a complimentary 30-minute session. So do reach out to me by email and we can connect to create a time where I can see how I can help you, because I am truly passionate about working with other investors. I'm passionate about having people achieve their goals. And I'm looking forward to working with you for you to reach your goals as well.